Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes. They are patriots and they are the very best of us. They did not just defend a building or the people sheltering in it. They put their lives on the line to defend who we are as a country and as a people. They defended the very institutions and principles that define the United States. Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment, and our investigation of other individuals continues. In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens. In the meantime, I must emphasize that the indictment is only an allegation and that the defendant must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I would like to thank the members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation who are working on this investigation with my office, as well as the many career prosecutors and law enforcement agents from around the country who have worked on previous January 6th investigations. These women and men are public servants of the very highest order, and it is a privilege to work alongside them.
All right, everyone. Special Counsel Jack Smith is demanding that after his 8 hours of testimony behind closed doors that's been hidden from the American people by House MAGA Republicans, his testimony be released in full to the American people, and that he be given a chance in public to give his testimony. This is huge, and it shows that Jack Smith has nothing to hide and everything to reveal about Donald Trump's crimes. In a new letter written by his lawyers, Lanny Brewer and Peter Koski, to the head of the Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, Smith is making clear he's not going away. He's got grand jury secrecy rules and other things he has to navigate in terms of what would prevent him from speaking about every piece of evidence. Although many of the things he talked about are right there in the open, even on the Department of Justice's own website. By the way, I am trying to do my best to gather all the information I can for you and share it with you. Please leave your likes and comments, and I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's continue. I mean, even today you can find Jack Smith introducing the indictment of all indictments against Donald Trump. Just to remind you, here's what he said. Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. Smith continued. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. He praised law enforcement. The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes. They are patriots, and they are the very best of us. They did not just defend a building or the people sheltering in it. They put their lives on the line to defend who we are as a country and as a people. They defended the very institutions and principles that define the United States. And he emphasized accountability. Since the attack on our Capitol, the Department of Justice has remained committed to ensuring accountability for those criminally responsible for what happened that day. This case is brought consistent with that commitment, and our investigation of other individuals continues. In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens. Now, what do Jack Smith and his lawyers want? What they don't want is selective leaks of things taken out of context over an 8-hour period of testimony. Think about it. I'm a skilled examiner. I've done hundreds of depositions and trial testimony. But if you took any one paragraph out of 8 hours of somebody's testimony, it could be distorted and taken out of context. Jack Smith has the opposite of something to hide. He has nothing to hide. As Justice Brandeis once said, sunlight is the greatest of disinfectants. Let it out in the open. Let everybody see it. That's all Lanny Breuer and Peter Koski are asking for on Jack Smith's behalf. That's what he's demanding now. And nothing stops Jack Smith from going on news media and giving interviews. Nothing stops him from coming on Legal AF to talk directly to the American people. In fact, that might be a very good idea. 8 hours of testimony behind closed doors. We know from Jack Smith's opening statement what he likely said at the beginning, but that was just the opening. We don't know the rest. We don't know everything he said. We think he said, "Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election." Did you hear that? Beyond a reasonable doubt, proof that Donald Trump is a criminal. We think he also said, "Our investigation also developed powerful evidence that showed that President Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office." See, Donald Trump and his team like to call Jack Smith the so-called prosecutor. Well, Jack Smith calls President Trump a criminal beyond a reasonable doubt. Smith likely also said, "The decision to bring charges against President Trump was mine, but with the basis for those charges resting entirely with President Trump and his actions as alleged in the indictments returned by 2 separate grand juries." But that's only what his opening statement, lasting 2, 3, 4 minutes, would have covered. What about the other 7 hours and 56 minutes? That's what the American people demand to know. Now, it may be possible for somebody like Jamie Raskin, the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee, to call a shadow hearing and get Jack Smith in there. But there are procedural problems with that. But here's Jamie Raskin commenting about understanding the reason why Jim Jordan didn't want this to publicly air after having sat through 8 hours. Raskin said, "I would say that Chairman Jordan made an excellent decision in not allowing Jack Smith to testify publicly, because had he done so, it would have been absolutely devastating to the president and all the president's men involved in the insurrectionary activities of January 6th. I can't get into further particulars, but I'll just say that Jack Smith has just spent several hours schooling the Judiciary Committee on the professional responsibilities of a prosecutor and the ethical duties of a prosecutor, and he's a sensational and honorable public servant, and we are lucky to have him in the bar in the United States of America." When asked to describe Jack Smith's message generally, Raskin said, "He didn't come with any particular message. He was answering questions, but I'll just say that he answered every single question to the satisfaction of any reasonable-minded person in that room." Raskin also said, "His report speaks for itself in terms of January 6th and the indictments that were handed down, and the other report should be public. That's just absolutely aberrational that it's not public, just like his testimony should be public. Every other special counsel's been able to come here and testify. Robert Mueller's been able to testify. Robert Hur's been able to testify. All the special counsels and independent counsels have come in, and his second report on the retention of classified documents and what crimes may have been committed should also be released." Now, the reality is that while this administration may not be willing to level with the American people about the criminality of their president, a soon-to-be-installed Department of Justice in just a few years will be able to do things like release Volume 2 of the Jack Smith Special Counsel report about Mar-a-Lago. We've always had Volume 1 about the election interference. That's a couple hundred-page document very similar to the announcement of the indictment, but Volume 2 got buried by Pam Bondi along with the Epstein files. And Judge Cannon in Florida won't release it, and she's going to make a ruling in the next month or so about that issue, and she's not going to release it. It's going to have to go up on 11th Circuit appeal, and we'll see what happens. But the next administration will release it, just like the next administration is going to have to change all the names of all the buildings that Donald Trump, like any good dictator, is trying to rename. We're not going to be able to tear down arcs and arches and other things, but we can pick letters off of buildings. It won't be the Trump Kennedy Center for more than 2.5 years, 3 years. By January 2028, it won't be the Trump Reagan Airport that's coming next. Get ready, everybody. But we need Jack Smith at this moment in time to continue to fuel the Democratic resistance. Right now, the House Democrats, led by Hakeem Jeffries, soon to be Speaker of the House hopefully in the midterms, is doing a remarkable job of keeping Republicans back on their heels. They are winning from a losing hand position, exploiting the fact there's only a 2 or 3 vote seat gap between their positions in the House majority and minority, and not giving Republicans any quarter. They're telling Republicans straight out there is nowhere for you to hide. You either deal with us or you don't deal with us. And now they're going to embarrass them and exploit them because of the suffering of the American people over the healthcare bill and everything else. But the Democrats have gotten their groove back, gotten their mojo back. Why? And I think Jack Smith plays an important piece in that because he is a time-traveling historian about what happened in January 2021, the attack and assault on the Capitol, the attempts by a president, feeble attempts by a president to withhold classified top-secret information that he should have returned to the National Archives on the way out, and then went through a whole cover-up. Donald Trump's whole life is about crime and cover-up. Crime and cover-up. We see it all the time. We see it with the E. Jean Carroll sexual assault civil judgment. We see it in the way he's handled the Epstein cover-up and the cover-up of the cover-up. We see it here in how he's been ordering his Department of Justice not to release the files on Mar-a-Lago or the final report on Mar-a-Lago. And this is something that encourages the Democrats and should encourage them. Jack Smith's going to play an important role. He was silent. He was the strong and silent type during his time as special counsel. We used to joke on Midas Touch that we called him Subway Jack, not because he took the subway, but because he always had a Subway sandwich under his arm. It was a thermos, a hard hat, a Subway sandwich, dark suit, and going to work. The press corps would yell out, "Jack, Jack," and he'd keep on walking. But now he wants to talk, needs to talk, and we're there for it. We're going to find out, and we're going to put enough pressure through our legal AF community to get that transcript. We appreciate all of you being here. Think about what this means. Jack Smith spent 8 hours answering every question from House Republicans. Jamie Raskin, who sat through the entire deposition, says it would have been absolutely devastating to Trump if it had been public. That's why Jim Jordan kept it behind closed doors. That's why they're not releasing the transcript. Jack Smith answered every single question to the satisfaction of any reasonable-minded person in that room. He schooled the committee on the professional responsibilities and ethical duties of a prosecutor, and according to Raskin, he's a sensational and honorable public servant. But Republicans don't want you to hear what he said. They don't want the American people to know that Jack Smith has proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump committed crimes. They don't want you to hear about the evidence of Trump's criminal scheme to overturn the election. They don't want you to know about Trump willfully retaining classified documents. So they're hiding the transcript. They're blocking public testimony. They're doing everything they can to prevent Jack Smith from telling the American people what he knows about Trump's criminality. But Jack Smith isn't going quietly. He's demanding the transcript be released. He's demanding the opportunity to testify publicly. He's making clear that he has nothing to hide and everything to reveal. And that's exactly what Trump and Republicans are afraid of. They know what Jack Smith would say in public testimony. They know how devastating it would be. They know the American people deserve to hear it, but they're terrified of what will happen when they do. Jamie Raskin is right that every other special counsel has been allowed to testify publicly. Robert Mueller testified. Robert Hur testified. There's no legitimate reason to treat Jack Smith differently except fear of what he'll say. And Raskin is also right that Volume 2 of Jack Smith's report on the classified documents case should be released. Pam Bondi buried it. Judge Cannon is blocking it. But it exists, and it contains evidence of Trump's crimes that the American people have a right to see. The next administration will release it. The next administration will allow Jack Smith to testify publicly. The next administration will undo all of Trump's attempts to hide his criminality and escape accountability. but we need to keep pressure on now. We need to demand that transcript be released. We need to support Jack Smith's request for public testimony. We need to make clear that hiding evidence of presidential crimes is unacceptable regardless of who's in power. Jack Smith is a hero. He conducted a thorough professional investigation. He developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt of Trump's crimes. He brought indictments based on that evidence. And now he wants to tell the American people what he found. Republicans are blocking him because they know the truth is devastating to Trump. But the truth will come out. Whether now or in a few years, whether through released transcripts or public testimony or the next administration, the truth about Trump's crimes will be known. And when it is, everyone who helped cover it up, everyone who blocked transparency, everyone who attacked Jack Smith for doing his job, they'll all be exposed as complicit in protecting a criminal president. Subscribe to this channel to stay updated on Jack Smith's fight for transparency. Share this video so more people understand why Republicans are hiding his testimony, and demand your representatives support releasing the transcript and allowing public testimony. The American people deserve the truth about Trump's crimes, and Jack Smith is ready to provide it if Republicans will stop blocking him.